stuff up if we need to, but I thought it would just be a really brief discussion to just kind of see where we're at. We had the workshop a couple weeks ago now, where we brought in like some experts to talk about the different items, and then it was with planning and zoning as well. And we talked through the comp plan, the future land use map, and I came out of that feeling like we were pretty reaffirmed on our comp plan, but I wanted to, I guess, make sure that we were okay. There was a little more discussion on the mixed use zone, which is that zone that is a combination of commercial and multifamily kind of throughout the zone, not on each piece of property, but kind of this combination of uses. So I was talking to one of the planners in Post Falls and kind of talking through some of the concerns that I've heard from some council members. And they have a lower density, I think theirs starts at like 18. And then if they add a certain number of amenities to the multifamily development, they can bump up to like 23 or so. So I thought, well, I wonder if that would help council get a little bit more comfortable with this zone. I mean, I still don't think we're gonna just, see a ton of it, but I guess we don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. So is that, this isn't a proposal for a zone text amendment tonight. If that's the direction you'd like me to take, I could go through those motions, do more research, figure out if that's something we want to do, workshop with planning and zoning. You know how the zone text amendments go to planning and zoning first and then come here. Is that something that you would like me to go spend time on? We workshopped these codes that we currently have 9 times. So I'm not saying that in a bad way or anything. I'm willing to do whatever makes you most comfortable. We did workshop it a lot to get to the point we're at now, but I don't want to constantly have the feeling that we're not comfortable with it, right? So if there's more work that we need to do, I will go do that. Is there any
Maybe I can help
discussion?
You, because it was a meeting, the genesis of this was with Melissa. It's really important to put our arms around where we are, where we want to be.
Yeah.
What are the variances? And in my mind, our comp plan with the new, I'll say the right word, future land use map instead of the zoning map.
Yep,
Thank you. Is that it was better in terms of identifying specifics, because right now under our present zoning, I know that I moved from what is zoning.
I'll let you know.
Is that there's too much ambiguity right now and too many opportunities for higher density growth than really what I think the meetings and the workshops have presented. So we've identified some specific land, and then Melissa brought up the point, because I said, does anybody do 20 ever? She goes, no, with all the other things, 17's a number,
kind of the
unless
minimum. Yeah. I mean,
so I said,
just like we were saying with everything else, like they have to meet all the other design standards. So it's not like every piece of property is gonna afford itself to 20 units an acre just because that's the maximum. You have to be able to fit parking. You have all sorts of other criteria to make work on a piece of property. So it's not, I really don't even think it's to be assumed that every multifamily development is at 20. It is a good number. I've done a lot of talking to different communities that have successful multifamily, and what I mean by that is high quality. The types of developments that people choose to live in for a variety of reasons, whether it's their income or it could just be a desire. I mean, I know I lived in an apartment at some point in my life, and I'm sure the majority of people have, because you're in different phases of life, and we can't have Hayden fit only one phase of somebody's life. And you know, so not every apartment building is, whenever Sheriff Norris called it in the workshop, felony alley or whatever. I mean, that's just not reasonable. I know people that live in apartments. There's all different reasons for living in apartments. So we're kind of focusing on how do we in Hayden create that high quality multifamily product. And that's what we're going for.
And the one, Melissa, to walk through, the only one that we've seen in the last 5 years is right behind Capone's. Is that
Right.
correct?
Right.
So in 5 years.
Well,
we've been-
Carrington Apartments are out off Hayden.
That's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
under construction right now too, and it's right around 20, so's Chad.
But with
like,
all the other
so
things, I
mean,
guess, that's it's not that
They're
we're
right
gonna put
around-
20 on 20 acres and have 400 units with all the other things. And that's the part that
Right,
everything else has to be in line, and they have to be able to meet certain infrastructure parameters, or
Right.
they're not gonna be approved
yeah,
anyway.
I mean,
So-
that's the thing, and I was explaining this to somebody else, that I don't want anyone to get the sense that staff just lets developers do whatever they want. I mean, that's absolutely not true. I mean, I've got Rob, the city engineer here. We look at sewer generation, traffic generation, how are they getting in and off their site? What are the impact? You know, like, we look at everything, and we always have comments. And then there are oftentimes that someone will come and say, hey, I'm looking at buying this piece of property. Would you let me, you know, change the zone and do multifamily? And there are a lot of times when I'm like, not a chance. You know, I mean, that you're afforded a process. You could come in and request that of planning and zoning and council, but I'm telling you that doesn't fit. So we have these conversations all the time. There's not, I can't think of a single development where we, you know, they get to do exactly what they want to do the whole process through. So I just didn't know if there was a way to get council just a little bit more comfortable with this zone.
Meaning if we move it to, because this is the real question mark with everything else going on.
Right, I think everything else seems
This has
pretty.
been the flashpoint.
Right.
So if 17's the right number, does that help, or is it, I mean, there's
Well,
still
I
gonna
don't
be
know,
so
let's not
many other
settle on a
things.
number
That's
today,
no,
because I might
fair.
have to go do more research, but I was thinking, I really don't think that we'll get the high quality developments if our base is lower than 17. So if we have a base of somewhere around there, and then with certain amenities or something, you could increase that a bit, if that would make people more comfortable. I'm willing to kind of go off and try to do whatever, but.
Well,
Go ahead.
no, you want it.
You guys have gone through some workshops and
Right.
planning and spent a lot of money to do this over a period of a couple of years or even
Right.
more
Right.
to do this. And nothing is, I mean, this is brand new.
We haven't used it at
No,
all yet.
so-
Right.
And my feeling would be, why don't we just approve it the way it is? And down the road, if that problem should raise its head, it's not a big deal to address it at that point. You know, let's
Right.
get this show on the road. You guys have invested a lot of time and money and stuff. Let's not muddy the water. Let's get it done the way it is, and if down the road, a couple of years, you run into a situation, then you handle it.
Right.
That's the way I feel about it.
Right. I think, you know, when we talk to a lot of developers, and a lot of the stuff is just early on, or they might not even pull the trigger on it, right? But the people that are looking at developing in Hayden are looking at that higher quality product. I mean, they're looking at, okay, what did you guys put in the code? Oh, good. You know, that type of thing. Because that's what they want. That's what fits Hayden. And you know, you're totally right. If we start to get what we're not liking, we can change the code and put those, you know, parameters in there.
Which we can do now anyway. I mean, so.
I think we're gonna get it anyway,
That's-
but if it makes people more, I just don't wanna, you know, have this sense that you're not comfortable with the code. I don't like that.
And I had that same concern as Jerry, please.
Although I know that you and staff worked very hard on this, were very thorough, you had lots of open houses, workshops. There were a lot of people that commented. I'm not comfortable with this. I'm hearing from, about as many people, against it that, about the same number of people that were open to it, at the open houses and the workshops. So I'm not comfortable with it. I think that 20 dwelling units is too much. I'd like to see a lesser number, and I'd like to have this, reopened, and you've done a great job so far, but I think that this is just too much for our future, and I know that we can change it later, but I would be, I want to listen to the people that didn't have an opportunity to speak on this before for whatever reasons, and listen to them and make some changes to this, so that more people are comfortable with it. Thank you.
Councilman Wheeler?
I do understand the amount of time and money that went into a plan that goes out 20 years and has to be flexible because we can't predict everything that's gonna happen in 20 years. I think that we're experiencing a very unusual situation where we had COVID, we had riots in the streets of major cities, we had mass exodus, California lost population, New York lost population, New Mexico lost a US representative seat because people left. And what we're seeing is this great influx, of course, into our state. So this is a highly unusual situation, and I think we need to be looking at how are we going to deal with this highly unusual situation based on a comp plan that's gonna take us into the future. What I heard today was that our sheriff is saying today he needs $1.8 million. And he also said that higher density means more crime, which means it's gonna cost our citizens more money. I just wanna make the statement that as I'm against high density housing. We don't, as a city, do not have to go there. Post Falls, Rathdrum, Coeur d'Alene, if they wanna produce high density housing that's close enough that people can, our family can go there, we don't have to do it here. I don't want more crime. I don't want more density. So I'm very uncomfortable with this. And so I'm saying that we need to look at adjusting the comprehensive plan based on our circumstances, and that's my position.
So one of my planners upstairs, her daughter's 21 years old, recently engaged. She lives in Hayden in an apartment. So is your opinion that she's not welcome to live here?
I didn't say that.
Okay, so can you clarify?
Well,
Because
she
how would
already
I'm just trying to clarify how I would adjust this code to make you a little more
Well, she
comfortable.
already lives here, so how can you say she's not welcome?
Okay, okay, so somebody else that doesn't quite live here yet.
Well, when I first moved to this area in 1977, I couldn't afford a house. We lived in Lake Villa Apartments in downtown Coeur d'Alene, and then we wanted to buy a house. We could not find one that we could afford as newlyweds in Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, Hayden, or Rathdrum. We went to Spirit Lake. We were able to find a house that we could afford. $808.08 was my down payment for that house. And eventually we moved to Hayden when we saved money. You know, if people have to move outside of right in this area, I did it, why can't they do it? Why do we have to spend all this money as a city to allow more growth? And I'm talking about tax increases. I don't wanna spend more money. I don't wanna pay more taxes so more people can move here. And so the problem is, again, the dilemma, the impact fees that we can collect, which are minuscule right now, and then I know I hear people say, well, if you put impact fees on, you're gonna price people out of the market. People are priced out of the market now. When you look at the price of the houses, it's crazy.
Okay, so you know we're going through an impact fee study update right now to see if our fee is appropriate or not.
I understand that, but where do we, give me a number, what do you think that should be?
I have no idea at this point in time. I mean, the study is just in the beginning stages.
So, I mean, that's only our choice, and we raise taxes to pay for all this growth, or we do impact fees, what do we do? And I can tell you, people don't want their taxes raised. You go there,
Okay, so I still don't really have any direction on what to do with this. So you're saying that people that either desire or need multifamily development aren't, no new people are welcome to live here? Should I just change the code that we have none?
I didn't say that.
I'm not, I thought that's
said
what
I
you
don't
said, that's why
like
I'm
high
clarifying.
density.
Okay, well, that would be multifamily development, and that's the code that I'm trying
To get arms around.
my darndest to get my arms around.
Well, if I had my druthers, I know it's not gonna happen, I'd like to have residential suburban, we can only allow 2 houses per acre.
That isn't, we're on mixed use, but I
I know,
understand.
I'm just saying if
So
I'm.
do you want mixed use at all?
I know that's.
I mean, that's the issue.
Well,
Jerry,
the question is, how much growth do you want in the city? That's the bottom line question. Where do you wanna go? We're at a very critical point. Are we gonna go high density and open up the door? Or are we gonna say, whoa, no? Because you're gonna pose that impact on taxes and, on public safety, on streets, on the people that are here now. Do you think that people wanna pay more taxes so more people can move here? Answer that question. I don't.
But how do we collect an impact fee from somebody who doesn't come to Hayden? I'm trying to figure out how I collect that impact fee.
Well, that's what, I mean, if we're focused, I'm sorry, Melissa, we're trying to have a conversation,
I
this is
know.
good. Meaning, let's say that impact fees quadruple.
Right.
Okay, that's because it could be to that level, but if there's no growth,
I didn't say
then there's,
that.
well, no, I'm just doing, cause you're both, we're kind of playing table tennis here. If there's no growth, then there's no impact on impact fees.
I didn't say no
Yeah,
growth,
no,
I
I don't
said no
understand
high
why-
density.
Okay,
There can still be growth without high density, true?
So is your,
so isn't the impact the same though? I mean, if it's the same amount of people and it's the same amount of cars, I guess I'm not understanding how it's less impact. What am I missing, Mayor?
I think the density issue, if I listen, and Jerry, you had a question, you had a comment.
I was just going to say that, in specific areas, there can still be some high density, but I'd like to see it like, a lot lower, 12. And I need to look at some research on that,
There's a lot, and 12 doesn't, it would be almost, and this is okay, this is why we have discussions with real adults, then we eliminate mixed use in a lot of areas.
Right,
I mean,
and it's
that's
not a
really
viable.
that's the option. And right now, they can do it in commercial, but if that's where council wants to go, to eliminate mixed use in a lot of areas, other than maybe identified specifically areas, then how do we zone those areas? And it's okay to have that discussion, but is that what we're recommending? I don't know, Councilmember Roeder, if you're saying no high density, less density, but higher density, is there a number, or would you rather simply have residential, single family residential as part of that process? I mean, that's the question too.
Well, I'm thinking based on our current situation, we're the hottest market in the United States. No more high density, I'd say single family homes.
Okay, so eliminate all mixed use. That's why it's good to have this discussion. So no high density, no duplexes, no, you want single family.
Yes.
Okay, that's on the record, that's what we need to go to look at. Jerry?
and, I'll, respectfully disagree with that. Yes, we can have residential homes, but I feel that there's, a need for some, higher density duplexes, apartments. But again, they need to be a lot less, less density than what's being proposed now.
So Melissa, here's what you have. You have one council member that says we need to move forward with the plan that we've adapted. One that says mixed use only, you're okay with the others, but from a mixed use standpoint, you would like density to be reduced from 17 or 20 to whatever a number is. And I don't know that that'll work, and that's okay, let's look at it. And one that says that they don't want any higher density.
Well, other than if I may interject,
Please.
in R1, we can have, what, 4 or 5 houses per acre?
Right, but
I mean, that would be the highest
Okay.
density that,
I think that
Yeah.
I mean, at 4 is really the max in there.
It is anyway,
Or
but it'd be either one. It's
Yeah,
a
because by the time
it's
you drive
single
the
family,
roads
not a,
and-
not a
yeah.
dwelling unit. So that's a cool, how about that for a discussion? So next steps. And Roger was, I don't wanna speak for Roger within this, but he was okay with existing, okay?
Okay.
I mean, so in terms of, but can we look at the financials, Melissa, or help
Yeah,
Jerry and all of us see what the impact would be if there's a lot of multifamily going on very close to Hayden. I drive Prairie and turn left on Ramsey, and it's all there, you know, and I see what's going on. I see what Sheriff Norris talked about behind Winco. We've all been there, you know, I mean, that's a different animal. That's higher density, but it's
Right.
subsidized, that's just not,
Right.
that's not market
it's
driven.
not really what we're doing in
That's
Hayden.
not what we're doing, and so at some level, we'll be able to see how our decisions will be moving forward. This council, at some point, created, what do we call our zone? The downtown
Central
district?
Business District?
Central, say it again, please?
Central Business District.
Central Business District was adapted. And in 6 years, we had 0 investment in downtown. 0 with a 0. So was that the right decision? I don't think so, but that's the decision. And so at some point, we'll see where these decisions will lead us in the future. I don't know, like, good and bad, but it's good to have this discussion. I'm grateful that Melissa wanted to, and I'm grateful for the honesty from the council members. Because I think this is the one area where we have issues. And this is the one area where misinformation drives public perception. So we need to all be on the same page.
I have a question. I know Brett did too, but before I forget, because I'm getting a year older tomorrow, and that's a problem. Anyway, my question is, if we did have just R1, which allows 4 houses per acre, up to, and we have residential suburban, which allows 2 houses per acre, can the city financially survive based on those 2 zoning?
Ask Dalton
Looking
Gardens.
at
I
Alan.
think-
Talk about the
Is that Dalton Gardens? I mean, that's,
I think that you will find, in general, and I'm sure we can find studies that would, I'm sure there's plenty of studies out there will support this, that, for example, Dalton Gardens, one of the reasons that sewer's never been installed because the cost of the infrastructure to put sewer in for 1 acre lots is absolutely astronomical, and it's not affordable for the general. I mean, even at the rate that the homes are in Dalton, it's probably not affordable. So when you start getting, you know, it's kind of that deal. If you got 5 homes per mile of road, or you got 50 homes per mile of road, and those 50 homes are paying taxes, and I'm not saying they're paying high taxes or low taxes, they're just paying the average tax. Your base is greater for your maintenance and your upkeep when you've got that many homes per mile of road. If you got 5 homes per mile of road, each one of those homes is not going to support the cost of maintenance of that road. They just can't.
Their denominator's the denominator.
It doesn't work,
And that's
so,
where-
and it's the same with sewer, and it's the same with water, which we don't have water, and it's the same for stormwater, which we do kinda have, it's the same for sidewalk maintenance, it's the same for snow plowing. So if you limit yourself to super large, I mean, because I'm just going with scales, right, so that we can kinda have an understanding. If we go with this super large lot concept, it's very difficult to financially support it. If you go with the smaller, it's much easier. I think in today's market, in today's world, the Dalton Gardens of the world probably are not going to see themselves happening. I mean, I could only think of 2 places around here that are like that, and I've never seen it developed again if it was a viable market. There's absolutely nothing stopping in our code today. I mean, absolutely nothing of a developer coming in and building 1 acre lots. They have every right in the world to do it all day long. I don't see it happening because I don't know that
But
it's
if we
really
have
allowed market.
R1, that allows 4 per acre, so is that economically viable for the city? I mean, isn't that about what?
Why don't we
Hayden-
do a study? Cause I think it's suicide.
Yeah, but Hayden Canyon,
So-
how many per acre is at Hayden Canyon, and there's like
2.5.
2.5 houses?
2.5 dwelling units per acre.
So I guess that works, doesn't it?
Well, that's what I mean, no, and that's, so Melissa, it would be
It's
good to get
clustered
the.
housing though, I mean.
It's a mixture. Ron
it's
McIntyre
a
many
big
years
mixture
ago.
of housing types in there.
I think
Who
that's
was
one
the
of the
most-
reasons that Hayden Canyon has taken so long to find an investor
Is
to
because
be able
of
to do is
that.
because of the low density. I mean, it's, even today, they go, the penciling this out is so tight because,
Plus the infrastructure.
well, you always have to build the infrastructure to support it, right?
That's what I mean, for either 10 homes or 50 homes. Melissa,
So,
right now, on a percentage basis, how many, we have R1 in how much of our space? 80%? 82%?
I mean, not in our, yeah, 88%, I would say, of our residential
Yes.
zones. I had that slide in here
So we're
last time
talking
we
about a
met.
very small percentage of space.
Bring up the future land use map.
That's what I was gonna do.
Yeah, I think that
Was
would
it
be-
this
that's
one
what
that
I
we
was
met?
It's just amazing to me. I mean, everybody
Maybe
gets
go
the
share the
opportunity to
screen.
make a decision. But if we truly, as a council, think that a city's going to be viable with R1, it doesn't work. You need commercial. What did Ron McIntyre say many years ago? We need variety. We need mix. We need to do it correctly.
Well, we don't have
Right.
it yet. It's like for residential suburban, we hardly have any.
But that's why.
Our highest,
and
our
we
highest
figured out why.
amount of
Yeah.
anything is the residential single family. I mean, and we heard that from the citizens during the comp plan, that they still wanted the grand majority of housing to be residential single family, so it is. Mixed use is not multifamily on every piece of property. I mean, I can tell you that we've got other land use actions that are gonna happen, development that's gonna happen in the mixed use zone that is not going to be multifamily. Right, a lot. I mean, I have very few that are coming in wanting to do the multifamily type development. And then, a little bit of that mixed residential, that stepping stone that we talked about. People that are in an apartment, they want to get to the single family home someday. They need a stepping stone to get there. The other people that fit into mixed residential housing are the 75-year-old woman whose husband just passes away, and they live on a large lot in Hayden, but she can't keep that up on her own. She can't mow it, it's way too big. And so what if there was an opportunity to have a cottage home with just a small little yard for her dog, something she could totally keep up on her own? Well, we just don't have that opportunity in Hayden. So basically, we're saying that unless you fit the mold of who can, 1, afford, and 2, desire a larger lot on a larger single family home lot, unless you fit that mold, you're not welcome to live here. And that, I guess, is where I start to get really uncomfortable with where the city would be going if that were to be true.
It would be good to get, and I'm sorry that there's more, it would be good to get a financial analysis, somehow, to be able to identify the financial impact associated with limiting, and I think mixed use, I don't think mixed residential's an issue, maybe it is, Councilmember Roder, I don't mean to put words in your mouth, cause that's not R1, but it is amazing to me, I would think it is suicidal for a city to move to simply R1 across the board from a financial standpoint, because there won't be enough people to be able to handle the services that are necessary and required down the road. But I do believe that a balance can be very effective financially, short term, and down the road. So
I'd like to clarify though, to make sure that my statement is clear. I have no problem with commercial, agricultural, or industrial. I'm purely talking about residential property. And I have a problem with high-density residential property, and I want to make that very specific.
So one quick question is, where the people that work in the jobs in the light industrial and commercial, do you think they should live in Hayden or not?
Well, there are apartments here, correct?
Not any
I bet we
vacancy,
don't have-
not any vacancy.
No, my question is, are there apartments in Hayden?
It'd be nice to find out how many, we're arguing about things that are hilarious to
Yeah.
me.
Okay.
It would
And
be
there are
interesting to see how many
apartments in
units.
Bathroom and Coeur
We don't
d'Alene.
have any, we have very few units in Hayden.
Right,
Mr.
so I mean,
Chair.
if they have to
Yeah.
go to Coeur d'Alene and travels 3 miles or 4 miles, is that a problem?
Go ahead.
I'll just comment, Councilmember Roder brought up the fact that, he couldn't move to Hayden right away. My husband and I were, in the same boat. We were living in Kellogg, and we both had jobs over here in Kootenai County. And so, we wanted to move to Hayden, and, there were no places to rent. Very few places to rent. We ended up finding a rental unit in Coeur d'Alene, and we lived there for about 3.5 years before, we live in Woodland Meadows now. When they first started building that out, the homes were very, very expensive. Not that many people could afford them, but by the time they built out the whole area, they were building less expensive homes, and my husband and I were able to afford one. And so, Hayden does need some rentals for people. We have very few, so, there's a
Yeah,
need
any
for
now.
it. I don't think that,
Yeah.
we could survive on just, residential.
What time frame did you say that was, Jerry, that you were doing
Oh.
that?
1995.
Okay, so this, if you remember this graph that our SCJ consultants put together for us, shows Kootenai County cost of housing compared to median household income over time. So you can see how in the 95 timeframe, it was a struggle for you even then. And you look at these lines diverting from each other. The young people that are trying to get into housing today, astronomically different and harder to get into housing. So
Almost
it's not
impossible.
the same game at all, and I mean, that's interesting that you had a struggle even back then. Today, in your same exact financial situation, it would be even more challenging, like way more challenging. So,
Maybe we could look, I don't know how we could find the dial. I feel like a Federal Reserve, one of the 7 or 8 to figure out, okay, if we move this dial, what is the financial impact associated with it? And will there be investment in, but
I'll have to
we
talk
can try.
about that.
I do believe if we want to make taxes unbelievably high, then we should go single family. That will allow us the opportunity to either have no services, or at some point, when there is a crisis, we won't be able to simply move K1-ish in terms of gradual growth and development, we will either have no services, or we will have the highest tax rates around, or try to do what we're trying to do, partnering with the sheriff and other things, so this is a good discussion.
And
I
again,
need to
I
move
wanna,
it.
I wanna comment on that though, because, you said we only have single-family residents only, and I'm not a proponent of that. I said I support industrial, commercial,
Residential, single-family.
agricultural, and residential. You know, it's not just one zoning that I support. I just don't support high-density residential.
Understand, that's okay.
I
I don't
just
think
wanna be-
anybody.
Cause you said we can't afford it. We can't, if we only went residential suburban, we'd either have to raise taxes or we couldn't afford it.
Or residential, that's okay, I meant from a residential standpoint, I wasn't talking about commercial and industrial.
Okay, cause
We'd have that
you
discussion
combined
later.
all that and.
Well, it would still leave a denominator that would be interesting. We need to move forward, we need to go into executive session. So I need thank you, Melissa. I need a